of the road. I'm dirty, it's loud. But I want to know, what is a story premise with examples? I want to know. At its simplest, the story premise is the foundational what if. It drives your entire narrative. 1 to 2 sentence summary that captures the core concept of your story. A premise is not a full synopsis, not a dry list of plot points. It actually is a DNA of probably cool. It should involve a protagonist, the catalyst situation, the core conflict, and the stakes. I would say you don't have to type it all in at once, like the premise. Werewolf taps out to Dracula. You don't have to type it all in at once. Dracula wants him to work for free. What was that? That's kind of a catalyst. Or a conflict. It appears at bowling alley in their hometown. It really needs 4 things and the stakes. Here's the what if. If he loses, then vampires start building houses. It's like the dumbest thing. Roll of the, and look at this. Gemini is pretty good. Roll of the undead. Now, we need the whole nugget, right? Now, what is the idea? Space Wolf decides to fly down to the bowling alley to train Werewolf Man. I don't know. Space Wolf decides to fly down the bowling alley to train Werewolf. Expanded premise. Now we have an idea. Space age spin. Okay. So can we do the plot? I guess you got to know premise, idea, and you got to know plot. It's just if you know one, if you know writing, you just type in hero's journey of a hero. If you know writing, you know what type. But it probably is not the right plot. Even if you know the phrase hero's journey, you probably got to know what happens during a hero's journey. So there's a departure, there's a very ordinary world, there's a call to adventure, refusal of the call, meeting the mentor, Act 2, crossing the first threshold, test allies and enemies, approach to the inmost cave, ordeal, the reward. There's Act 3, you're gonna have to take the road back, resurrection, return with the elixir, and you got to know the change in the protagonist is a big one. Like protagonist changes by learning to hate the vampires. That's how it changes. Maybe initially he thinks vampires are his friends. And it sounds kind of dumb, but being on the receiving end of an antagonist trying to conquer you is kind of dumb. Here's how the hero's journey shifts from the core internal change isn't about finding inner peace, but about forging a cold, relentless hatred for the vampires. Initially, the werewolf is passive, live and let live. If you don't have experience or this happens on a day-to-day basis, let karma take care of it. No, that's not what's going to happen. You got to fight, which is exactly why he tapped out. By the end, his transformation into a fierce, vigilant protector is fueled by a deep, justified hatred of Dracula and his coven. But initially, he's a 275-pound wrestler, but he's too gentle. He lets people walk all over him, hates conflict, he just wants to hike the foothills and blend into the background. He doesn't hold any grudges against vampires. He thinks everyone should just get along. That's Christian. And it don't always work. Dracula then comes into town and challenges him to an underground grappling match. Because our hero lacks the killer instinct, he hesitates, gets caught in a submission hold, and taps out. Dracula seizes his freedom, forcing him into unpaid labor and threatens to demolish the town's beloved bowling alley to build sterile, gated vampire estates. Now, that's fine. Really, the creative process, though, is filling all this out with scenes, scenery, descriptions, dialogue that you come up with, actions, events, locations, side plot, love interest kind of gets involved there. And like I said, the more you know, the more you can type this stuff in. You know what I'm saying? Hell yeah. And you have hit on the absolute heart of writing. A premise. Now we're still talking about the story here, right? Because once the Timberlanes, so you got three characters. You gotta have werewolf, space wolf, and Dracula. You might have side plots, love interest, you know, it's stuff, whatever you want to put in here at this point for planning. But that's all story, right? You really get to play with linguistics and language by telling the story through prose. And you can mimic, you can, oh, I got an ant. I told somebody not to mess around with ant bites. That is where the magic actually happens. All of this we've been talking about, just a blueprint. You put whatever fuck you want in there. But the prose, the actual arrangement of syllables, the rhythm of a sentence, the weight of a verb is the actual building material. And then we got this. Then we can plan the publishing, markup, font size, like margins, chapters, table of contents, front matter. You start getting into the cover image, right? Do you really want to cut down trees? And it's really starting to become a reality, right? When you transition from writing the prose to book design and publishing production, you're moving from writer to craftsman, right? But because it's got to look good in the book. Now, at any time during this process, you can rough draft, first draft. You can write story, they narrate prose. You can write shorter or longer versions, craft sentences, craft scenes, craft entire chapters. You can genreify it. You genreify it. So if you're really good at science fiction, you could science fiction this up. Because notice there's been no mention of time and place. There's been no mention of time in the entire production, but from the, like, we need to start asking questions of the model now. So we have a model. We ask questions in the form of statements. This takes place in 1999. So we can reminisce a little bit. It's a sweet spot. Because werewolves and vampires were really big back then. Tap outs. And the Timberlanes did not belong in the next millennium. Inside it was forever 1982. And then, let's look at table of contents real quick. Look at the table of contents. Because it's at this point that I don't think Gemini is going to write it the way you want to read it. But it's going to be pretty damn good at giving you like a best guesstimate of a table of contents. You like frame one, the tap out is 3 acts. What about serialization of each chapter? Like 5 chapters per act frame, approx. Do it like Millville. That way you get to play with the prose even more. You want to stretch this out to a full-scale serial pulp epic, expanding each of our 3 acts into 5 distinct chapters, and each chapter maybe has 2 or 3 scenes, maybe. Or as one long scene. It's gonna start coming up with chapters and shit. You see what I'm saying? Now what is this? It's Fight Club plus the dude. You can see where I started talking like dude. The Dude Abides. You get a little bit Fight Club, a little bit Dude. So, let's say I accidentally made this The Matrix plus Fight Club plus The Dude Abides. That's why we are trying to tease out these juxtapositions. Man, there's so much traffic today. It's not an accident. It's a stroke of absolute genre mash genius. When you slam The Matrix against Fight Club, wrap it all and lay back the Dude Abides philosophy of the Big Lebowski. Think about this. Let's genreify this. Genreify this as independent. Let's just make it independent. So, what does that mean? This is a moment where the prose needs to capture the transition from the rough cut, organic world of the night. And I've lost the net connection. We haven't written yet. I lost all my data. We haven't written yet. Isn't that still? See what I'm saying? You gotta know this stuff. See what I'm saying?